It was a quiet night, just like always. I worked the night shift at a warehouse. Nothing special, just scanning boxes, logging inventory, sipping cheap coffee to stay awake. That night the air felt heavier, like the darkness outside the windows was pressing in closer than usual. At first, I thought I was just tired, but then my phone buzzed. I looked at the screen. No name, no number, just unknown caller. The time? 3:33 a.m. I should have ignored it. I wanted to ignore it, but I didn't. I answered, and for a few seconds, all I heard was static. Then a voice. Almost like a whisper right next to my ear. So, you killed me. I froze. I couldn't speak. Couldn't even hang up. My fingers felt locked. Then the call dropped. Just like that. Gone. I sat there staring at my screen. No missed call notification. No log of it ever happening. I told myself it was just a prank. Someone messing around with a spoof number. That kind of thing happens, right? But deep down, something about the voice. It felt wrong. Not because it sounded scary, but because it sounded familiar. I couldn't place it, but something in my chest twisted when I heard it. Like my body remembered before my mind did. I didn't tell anyone. What was I supposed to say? Hey, a ghost called me at 3:33 a.m.? I laughed it off the next morning, but that laugh didn't reach my eyes. Because even though the sun came up, and the world looked normal again, I knew that voice wasn't done with me. And I had this feeling, like I was standing on the edge of something dark, something I tried to forget, but it hadn't forgotten me. And tomorrow night, when the clock hits 3:33 again, I know my phone will ring, and this time, I might not be able to hang up. The next night, I kept checking the time. Every hour, every minute. I told myself I wouldn't answer again. But some part of me was waiting for it. And right on time, 3:33 a.m., the phone lit up. Unknown caller. I didn't touch it. I just stared at the screen like it might burn me. But it didn't stop. Right? And rang. And rang. Then silence. No voicemail. No message. Nothing. I let out a shaky breath, thinking maybe that was it. Maybe it was over. But then the phone buzzed again. Not a call this time. A voicemail appeared. I hadn't heard it ring. I hadn't seen a new call. But somehow the message was there. Timestamped 3:33 a.m. My hands shook as I pressed play. The same voice. The same whisper. But now the words were different. You left me there. In the dark. My mouth went dry. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know who it was talking about. Or maybe I did. And I just didn't want to remember. I started thinking about things I hadn't thought about in years. Things I'd buried so deep they only came out in nightmares. The kind I used to wake up from, sweating, heart racing, with no memory of what scared me. Until now. That voice was digging something out of me. Like it was peeling layers off my mind. I didn't sleep. Couldn't. I just sat in the break room until the shift ended, staring at my phone, wondering if it would ring again. Wondering if next time, it wouldn't just be a call. Wondering if next time, something might be waiting on the other end. I told myself I wasn't going to listen again. But the truth is, I needed to. It was eating at me. That voice. Those words. You left me there. In the dark. I started digging through old messages, photos, anything. Looking for clues. Looking for answers. But I didn't even know what I was looking for. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that I used to know. Like it was a memory just out of reach. That night I stayed home. I told my boss I was sick. I just couldn't face another shift at 3:33 a.m. So I waited in my room, sitting on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, eyes on the clock. 3:30. My heart was pounding. 3:31. I had to remind myself to breathe. 3:32. Sweat on my palms. 3:33. The screen lit up. Unknown caller. I didn't answer, but the second it stopped ringing, a new voicemail appeared. This time, the voice sounded closer, like it wasn't coming through a phone, like it was behind me. You promised you wouldn't leave me. I dropped the phone, stared at it lying face up on the carpet, and I swear, just for a second, I saw something reflected in the screen. A face. Not mine. Not anyone I recognized. But it looked sad, angry, tired, and it was looking right at me. I picked the phone up slowly. My hands were shaking again. I replayed the voicemail 3 times. Same words, same tone, but something was different. In the background, I heard a car, tires screeching, a crash, glass breaking, and then silence. The kind that makes your stomach sink. The kind that says, something bad happened here. And I knew, whatever this voice was, whoever it was, they were trying to show me something. Something I had forgotten. Or maybe something I had forced myself to forget. And now it was coming back. One call at a time. I didn't go to work the next day either. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard it. You promised you wouldn't leave me. Over and over. That voice wasn't just haunting me. It was pulling me somewhere. I started checking old social media posts, old photos, old texts, searching for names, faces, anything familiar. But nothing stood out. Until I saw a picture I hadn't noticed in years. It was from a party. A long time ago. Blurry. Dim lighting. Me, holding a red cup, half smiling. Next to someone I almost didn't recognize. A guy. Tall, messy hair. His arm around my shoulder. I clicked on the tag. My breath caught in my chest. Then it felt heavy. I scrolled through his profile. Nothing recent. No updates in years. The last post? 6 years ago. A black and white photo. Candles. A message that said, "Rest easy, brother." And a comment from someone else. Gone but not forgotten. That night, the phone rang again. 3:33 a.m. I didn't let it finish. I answered. "Who are you?" I said. My voice cracked. I was sweating. Silence. Then static. Then the voice. "I waited for you." I could barely speak. "Kyle?" I whispered. "Is that you?" There was a long pause. And then the voice replied. "You left me to die." I froze. The room felt cold all of a sudden. Like the air had been sucked out. I wanted to scream. To deny it. To say it wasn't true. But I didn't know if it was a lie. Because the truth is, I couldn't remember. That night, the year, it was all a blur. Drinking. Parties. Bad choices. Regrets I never wanted to face. I hung up the phone. Tried to steady my breath. But it was clear now. This wasn't just a prank. Not some sick joke. This voice was someone I once knew. And he wanted me to remember what I did. Or maybe worse. What I didn't do. I didn't sleep after that. How could I? The voice on the phone wasn't just blaming me now. It was accusing me. And I couldn't even defend myself. Because I still didn't remember what happened. But I knew one thing for sure. Kyle wasn't just a name anymore. He was real. He was part of my past. And maybe he was part of my guilt. I called in sick again. 3rd day in a row. Didn't even care. I had one goal now. Find out what happened to Kyle. I started messaging people from that old photo. Friends I hadn't spoken to in years. Most ignored me. Some blocked me. But one replied. A girl named Sarah. She used to hang around our group back then. Her message was short. Why are you asking about Kyle now? After everything? I told her the truth. At least part of it. I said I couldn't remember what happened. That things felt wrong. That he was calling me. She didn't reply. Until hours later. I was dozing off on the couch when my phone buzzed. It was a voice note. From her. I hit play. Her voice was low. Nervous. You really don't remember? She asked. You were with him the night he died. You two left the party together. He was drunk. You were too. She paused. I remember you saying something about driving to the lake. Another pause. And then, he never came back. My hands went cold. I didn't even know what lake she meant. But the words stuck with me like a knife. He never came back. I replied immediately. What happened? What did I say? What did I do? But she left me on read. And at exactly 3:33 a.m., the phone rang again. I didn't answer this time. I just stared at the screen. Unknown caller. Same as always. But this time, the voicemail was different. It was Kyle. Breathing heavy. Voice shaking. You watched me fall. You didn't even try to help. My heart stopped. What did he mean? For where? For how? I looked at myself in the dark reflection of the TV screen. Sweat on my forehead. Eyes red. And suddenly, a flash. A memory. Water. Waves. Headlights reflecting off the lake. A voice screaming my name. And then, silence. That's when I realized this wasn't just about guilt. It was about truth. And something was trying to bring it back. Piece by piece. Night by night. But now I was starting to wonder, if Kyle really had died that night, why did I survive? And why was he calling me now? I couldn't take it anymore. The calls. The memories. The not knowing. So I did something I never thought I would. I went back. Back to the place I hadn't seen in years. I had to see it with my own eyes. To know if the pieces in my head were real, or just part of the nightmare that had taken over my life. The drive felt longer than it should have. My hands trembled on the wheel. Every time I passed a familiar road sign, my stomach twisted tighter. I didn't even remember the exact turn, but something in me did. Like my body still remembered the route, even if my mind had tried to forget. When I finally saw the water, my breath caught. The lake was quiet. Still, just like in my memory, but something felt wrong. Heavier, colder. I parked the car and stepped out. The dirt path leading down to the lake was overgrown, like no one had been here in years. I walked slowly, half expecting someone to jump out, but nothing did. And then I saw it, near the water's edge, half buried in the dirt, was a rusted metal sign. No trespassing, but underneath, scratched into the wood with something sharp, was a name. Cut. I knelt beside it, ran my fingers over the rough letters. Another memory hit me. Flashing lights. Kyle yelling. Me pushing him. What? I couldn't hold the image. It vanished as fast as it came. And then, my phone rang. 3:33. Of course. This time, I answered without thinking. Kyle, I said, I'm here. At the lake. Static. Then his voice. It's too late. The phone went dead. I looked out at the dark water, the moonlight shimmering on the surface. And I swear, just for a second, I saw someone standing in the water, still watching me, then gone. No splash, no ripple, just gone. That's when I realized this wasn't just about a call. It wasn't about a memory. Something wanted me here, and I wasn't sure if I'd be allowed to leave. You said, I couldn't sleep that night. After what I saw at the lake, the name scratched into the sign, the voice on the phone, the figure in the water, my mind wouldn't stop racing. I kept replaying everything, but it felt like I was still missing something, like the truth was just beyond my reach. The next morning, I dug through my old boxes. Stuff I hadn't touched in years. High school junk, old photos, receipts. And then I found it. A CD, labeled with a black marker, Lake Night 2016. I had no memory of it, but I knew I had to see what was on it. I dusted off an old laptop. Took forever to boot up. When the video opened, my chest tightened. It was us. Me, Kyle, a few others. A group of friends hanging out near the lake. Laughing. Drinking. The usual stuff. But then the video shifted. The camera was shaky. Someone filming in secret. Kyle was standing at the water's edge, arguing with me. The audio was rough, but I could hear bits. Kyle yelling, "You think this is funny? You told her?" Me, slurring. She deserved to know. And then, pushing, shouting, a splash. The video cut out. I sat there frozen. Did I push him? Or was it an accident? Why were we even fighting? I rewound the clip, played it again, and again. Each time, the guilt felt heavier. But there was still something missing. Then my phone buzzed. A new message. From a blocked number. One photo. A screenshot from the video. Kyle in the water. His face terrified. And a message underneath. "You lied. Again." I dropped the phone. Stared at the screen. Someone else had that video. Someone was watching me. And they knew more than I did. Or maybe it wasn't someone. Maybe it was him. Still reaching out. Still angry. Still waiting. And if that was true, then this wasn't over. Not even close. I couldn't go back to work. Not after everything I saw. Everything I remembered. I called in sick. Which wasn't really a lie. Because I was sick. Sick with fear. Guilt. Confusion. But most of all, I was sick of not knowing. So I did something desperate. I called Jenna. She was Kyle's sister. We hadn't spoken in years. Not since the funeral. I wasn't even sure she'd answer. But she did. On the second ring. "Why now?" she asked, her voice cold. I didn't even know how to begin. I just told her everything. The calls. The messages. The video. The memories that didn't make sense. There was silence on the other end. Then she said something that chilled me to the bone. "You said it was an accident. But you never cried." I didn't know what to say. Because deep down, I didn't even know if it was an accident anymore. I asked her if she remembered anything strange from that night. Anything that didn't add up. She hesitated. And said, "Kyle came to me the night before it happened. He said you told him something. Something that scared him." "What did I say?" I asked. She paused again. "He said you knew a secret. One that could ruin everything. He never told me what it was. But he looked different. Like he'd seen a ghost." My throat went dry. I thanked her and hung up. That's when I saw it. On my front door. A single sheet of paper, taped there without a sound. I opened it with trembling hands. A photocopy of the same video frame. Kyle in the lake, eyes wide. But this one had new words written across it in red ink. "Tell the truth." I backed away from the door. Looked around the hallway. Nobody there. No footsteps. No sound. Just that message. Tell the truth. But what truth? What had I buried so deep that even I couldn't remember? The clock in the kitchen read 3:32 a.m. I didn't want to see what would happen at 3:33. But the phone rang anyway. Same time. Same tone. Same number. I answered. Before I could say anything, the voice whispered, "Only one more lie left." And then it cut. I stood there, alone in the dark, realizing something terrifying. This wasn't just about remembering. It was about confessing. And I was running out of time. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there, watching the shadows move across the walls. My phone was still on the table, screen cracked from where I dropped it. The message echoed in my head. Only one more lie left. Lie. What truth had I been hiding from myself? Morning light finally broke through the window. I felt like I hadn't blinked in hours. I knew I couldn't stay inside anymore. I needed answers. Real ones. So I went back to the lake. It was colder than I remembered. The trees bare, the water still. The dock broken, almost like it had aged faster than the rest of the world. But it was the same place, the same spot, where Kyle vanished. I walked the edge of the shore, trying to piece together the last steps of that night. Then I saw it, a small wooden cross, half buried in the dirt. I never remembered seeing it before. Carved into it were 3 letters, KJD, Kyle's initials. I knelt beside it, hands shaking, and just beneath the cross, something was buried in plastic. I dug it out slowly. It was an old voice recorder, still working. Somehow, I pressed play. Static. This is Kyle. If something happens to me, it wasn't an accident. My heart dropped. His voice was low, scared. He talked about someone following him, watching him, calling him from blocked numbers. But then he said it, the part that made my skin go cold. He said we did something wrong, that we let it happen, that we covered it up. I think he means Tyler, but I didn't cover anything. I swear. I stopped the recording. I couldn't breathe. I remembered that name. Tyler. He was a friend, but not close. He drowned the summer before Kyle. At a party. I remembered we all said it was an accident, but now I wasn't so sure. And maybe Kyle wasn't either. Maybe he found out something. And maybe that's why he died. Or worse, maybe I was involved in something I couldn't remember. I looked at the lake. Still, like it was holding a secret. I turned to leave, and saw it again. A shape, standing at the edge of the trees. Same size, same face. But he wasn't alive. He couldn't be. He pointed at me, then vanished. I ran, all the way home, because whatever truth I was digging up, it wasn't finished with me yet. You said, I locked the doors. I closed every curtain. I unplugged the phone. But still, at exactly 3:33 a.m., it rang. No number, no name, just the words, incoming call. I didn't want to answer it, but my body moved on its own. My hand picked it up, and I pressed it to my ear. Silence. Then the voice whispered, "You remember now." I couldn't speak. My throat felt like it was closing, but my mind started to see it, clearer than before. The party, the dock, the laughter, and Tyler. He wasn't supposed to swim. He was drunk. We all knew it. We told him not to, but someone pushed him. It wasn't me. I keep telling myself that, but I stood there. I watched, and when he went under, I waited too long. We all waited, too long. Kyle tried to jump in, but the others pulled him back. They said it was too late. They said it would ruin everything. So we ran. We swore to never talk about it again. We lied. All of us. And now they were all gone. Tyler drowned. Kyle vanished. Derek crashed his car. Sam overdosed. Emily disappeared without a trace. And I'm the only one left. The phone clicked again. Same voice. There's only one more lie, and it's the one you keep telling yourself. I dropped the phone. I finally understood. This wasn't just guilt. This was something worse. It was a curse. Or a punishment. Or maybe both. And whatever it was, it had been watching me. Waiting for me to remember. And now that I had, I wasn't sure what would happen next. But I knew one thing. This wasn't over. You said, I didn't sleep after that call. I just sat on the floor, staring at the phone. Every sound in the apartment felt louder. The ticking clock. The pipes groaning. Even my heartbeat. The voice said I had one more lie. And deep down, I knew exactly which one it was. I told myself Tyler's death wasn't my fault. I told myself I froze. That I was just a scared kid. But that's not the full truth. That night, Tyler was drunk and loud. Annoying everyone. He dared people to push him off the dock. I stepped forward. I didn't push him. Not really. I barely touched his back. But he stumbled. And then he was in the water. And then he was gone. Everyone panicked. We all swore we'd lie. But he started getting paranoid. He wanted to tell the truth. He said it was eating him alive. So we stopped talking to him. Blocked his number. Laughed it off. Tried to forget. But they started soon after. I thought it was a sick joke. Maybe Kyle messing with us. But after he vanished, I knew it wasn't a prank. I stood up and looked in the mirror. My face looked older. Paler. Like something was draining me from the inside. And then the phone rang again. I didn't answer. This time, I just listened. The voicemail played itself. You remember it now. The dock. The hand. The moment. That was the moment. You chose silence. You chose fear. Then nothing. I picked up the phone and shouted into it. What do you want from me? I didn't mean to kill him. And then I heard it. Breathing. Slow. Right behind me. I turned around. Nothing. But the room felt colder. Like something had entered. Or returned. I think whatever I buried that night wasn't just a memory. It was something real. And it followed me home. It was here now. Watching. Waiting. And I was starting to wonder, was this all in my head? Or was Tyler really back? I tried to leave the apartment. Grab my keys. Open the door. But the hallway was wrong. It was too quiet. Too dark. Like the building itself was asleep. I took a step out. The light above me flickered. Then popped. Glass sprinkled the floor like sharp rain. I turned to go back in, but my door was gone. Just a blank wall. I reached out, confused, pressed my hand where the doorknob should be. Nothing. No seam. No outline. It was like my apartment never existed. I stood in the dark hallway, frozen, breathing hard. And that's when I saw it. A shape. At the end of the hall. Not moving. Just standing. I called out. Hello. No answer. I stepped closer. Each footstep echoed like it didn't belong here. Like I was walking in someone else's dream. The shape was clearer now. A person. Facing the wall. Hands at their sides. I whispered, Tyler. The figure turned. But it wasn't Tyler. It was me. My face. My eyes. But pale. The mouth hanging open like it had screamed for centuries. Then it whispered, It's your turn. I stumbled back. Fell against the cold wall. And suddenly, the hallway changed. Lights buzzed to life. The carpet was newer. Cleaner. Doors appeared. Including mine. I ran to it. Opened it. Everything inside looked normal. But the phone was ringing. Again. Always at 3:33 a.m. This time I didn't answer. I smashed it. But as the plastic shattered, I heard the voice one last time. You can break the phone, but you can't silence the truth. And then silence. The apartment was still. The air thick like fog. But I knew it now. The haunting wasn't coming from the phone, or the hallway, or the voice. It was coming from inside me. From the moment I pushed him. From the moment I stayed silent. And the more I denied it, the more it grew. You said, the next morning didn't feel real. Sunlight came in through the blinds, but it didn't feel warm. It just felt fake. Like the apartment was pretending everything was normal. I went to work like nothing happened. Sat at my desk. Answered emails. But my hands were shaking. And every time the phone rang, I jumped. My coworker, Jenna, noticed. You okay? She asked. I nodded. I didn't sleep much. But that was an understatement. I hadn't really slept since the first call. Not truly. Around 2:45 that afternoon, I got a text from an unknown number. It said, he's waiting at the dock. I stared at it, heart pounding. I hadn't told anyone about the dock. Not even Jenna. No one. So how did they know? I didn't reply. I deleted it. But another message came. You started it. You'll finish it. I slammed the phone down. People looked at me. I smiled weakly, said it was just spam. But inside I was screaming, because I knew what it wanted. It didn't just want to haunt me. It wanted me back at the place where it all began, where I killed him, where I lied. That night, I stood at my apartment window, looking out. My reflection stared back at me, but it wasn't right. Its mouth was moving. Mine wasn't. I leaned closer, carefully, and I saw it, clear as day. The reflection whispered, "Go to the dock, or I come in." My heart dropped, because now the mirror was part of it too. Everything was. There was no more escaping this. I had to go back, face whatever I left behind, even if it meant never coming back. I drove to the dock just after midnight. The road was empty. Even the air felt heavy, like it was holding its breath. I hadn't been there in years. Not since the accident. Not since the fight. Back then, I told everyone it was an accident. That he slipped, hit his head, fell into the water. But I remembered more now. I remembered the anger, the shouting, the way I pushed him too hard, and the way his head hit the post before he went under. How I stood there, frozen, watching the ripples disappear, and did nothing. The dock looked exactly the same. Old wood, rusty nails, the water black as ink. I walked slowly. Each step creaked beneath me. My flashlight flickered, and then I heard it. Footsteps. Behind me. I spun around. No one. But the air shifted. Cold wind brushed my neck. The lake was silent, but not calm. It felt alive. I stepped to the end of the dock, and there he was, standing on the water. Not in it, on it. Tyler, soaked. His eyes locked on mine, empty, accusing. "You left me," he said. The voice I heard every night. That same voice from the calls. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. He took a step closer. The wood beneath me groaned. "I trusted you," he whispered. "I'm sorry," I finally said, tears in my eyes. I was scared. He stared at me for a long time. Then he pointed to the water, and suddenly, the dock cracked beneath me. I dropped, slammed into cold darkness, and everything went black. I woke up on the shore, soaked, freezing, gasping for air like I'd just come back from the dead. The dock was gone, or maybe it was never really there. The phone lay next to me in the sand, cracked, but still lit up. 3:33 a.m. The screen flashed once, then again. Then the words appeared. "Debt paid." I stared at it, breathing hard. The voice was gone. The ringing silence that haunted me for nights, gone too. Was it over? I stumbled back to my car. Everything felt hazy, like I'd stepped out of a dream, or a nightmare. The next day, I didn't get a call. Or the day after that. My reflection stayed still when I looked in the mirror. The air in my apartment was light again. Not cold. Not watching. It was like nothing had happened. But I know better. Some things, they don't just disappear. They wait. So maybe I paid for what I did. Maybe he forgave me. Or maybe he just let me go for now. But every time I hear a phone ring, any phone, I freeze. Because I still remember the voice. And I still remember the words. "You killed me." And one day, if I forget again, if I let myself believe I'm safe, I think he'll call back. If you've made it this far, maybe you're wondering if it really happened. If the calls were real. If he was real. I still ask myself that. Sometimes late at night when it's quiet. Too quiet. I check the time. Always. Just in case it's 3:33 a.m. Because that's when the past comes calling. That's when guilt has a voice. You can bury memories. Lock them away. But some truths don't stay dead. Some guilt grows. I told myself I was innocent. For years. that it wasn't my fault, that it was just a mistake. But the voice on the phone never lied. It didn't need to. So if your phone rings in the middle of the night, and there's no number, no name, just static and a whisper, don't answer. Or maybe you already have. And now, it's your turn to remember, because some calls are for the ones who forgot, and some debts never really go away.